Hey everybody, welcome back. We are doing another armor project today. This box is so big, my camera is way up. You wouldn't even believe how high up it is for me to get this all. But let's look at something, something different. Let's do a what if. I've wanted to build this model for a really long time. I've been looking at it, I've been thinking about it, and it's time. It is time. Now I'm not into Gundam. I've never built like a Gundam wingsuit or whatever it is. Honestly, I don't know. But this tank just possesses so much badassery. I've been dying to build it. Dying. And comparing it to a good old Tamiya 135 scale M1 Abrams. And I know this is an old kit, and this is going to be something, we're going to do something really cool with this one day. Not today, but one day. Promise. But I'm just using this to compare size to this guy. I have seen some unboxings of this, so yeah, we're gonna unbox it, but you know, we're gonna unbox it so that we can build it and do something awesome. I want to build this as if this were a modern day United States Army main battle tank. I don't know what's going to be involved in that. I don't know if there's going to be some scratch building we have to do. There probably is going to be some scratch building we have to do, some modification. You know, we need to get into the kit and take a look at it and figure out what all is going to go into it. But I am so excited to do this. I'm so excited to get into this. And I'm just really excited to build this kit because I have heard great things about this kit. I've never built anything by Bandai. I know them as a toy company, not a model company. So let's just get into this thing. And again, we're going to compare it to the Abrams for a size reference because they're both, you know, the same scale. Oh, wow. And this is massive. In preparation for doing this, I ordered some brand new paints. I ordered the Vallejo Modern NATO colors, 3-color. I already have some desert tan colors if we choose to do it in a desert color scheme. But, you know, it's done so often now. Everybody wants to do a desert in Iraq tank. I figured the good old NATO 3-color scheme would be cool, and we could do something like, you know, in Europe, or maybe backdate it like something in the I-4 in Bosnia, something like that. What I think is really awesome is that they thought ahead and they made the NATO green in a primer color so that you can actually prime in NATO green as the base color and then put the other two colors on top of it. That's pretty awesome. So I have those. I also bought the Murdic set, and if you're not familiar with Murdic, it's the 1970s, 80s multi-color camouflage scheme colors. Here's what Murdic stands for. And if you saw a picture, you'd probably be familiar with it. And Vallejo just put out recently a complete set of Murdic colors. And, you know, here's a picture of different Murdic schemes. You guys are probably familiar with it. I got the set today. I was looking at the paints. I was all excited. I have no idea where they are. I lost them already. So I'll find them by the time it's time for painting, and we'll decide, you know, what color scheme we're going to do. But this already is massive. Let's as we go through the unboxing, let's take a look at these parts. Now here's the top of our hull and the bottom of our turret and some other assorted parts. I've heard that the detailing is really well done on this. It doesn't look like there's a lot of detailing to go around here, but I also see that there's a lot of place to put parts on. Let's compare the size to the Abrams in the same scale. And this is a tried and true kit. I cannot tell you how many different Tamiya kits, M1 Abrams, I have built. I mean, seeing as how I, you know, have worked in armored regiments, you know, I served in the Army in armored units. Well, you know, here's a real quick flash of a handful of the Abrams that I built. So I'm very, very familiar with this kit. I love this kit. But the Abrams is not a small vehicle. Look at that size comparison in the hull. Holy cow. I'm so excited to get this done. So We can kind of compare the turret size too. The turret doesn't look all that much bigger, honestly, turret to turret. But we've got the base. Let's see if we can find, here's the turret top. Turret shape reminds me a little bit of an Israeli Merkava. And yeah, it's bigger, but I mean, it's not that much bigger than an Abrams turret. Although there's only one big hatch in it, and you know, I don't know the mythology of this tank. I gotta look it up, how many people sitting there and all that stuff. There's a crew of 3 that are in here and 1 in the hull. So I'll have to check that out. But it's a big turret, and with 2 big cannons in the front. Cool. I know we've got 2 sprues here with the main cannon parts. Pretty sure this represents a 155mm main gun, whereas the Abrams is a 120mm main gun. So take a look at the size of the Abrams main gun compared to this guy. Holy mother. That is enormously huge. And you know, 155 in real life is the size that we use for a standard self-propelled howitzer cannon, so it makes sense that it would be such a huge gun. And you know, what detailing is on there all looks very crisply done. I have not seen a single piece of flash or anything else, ejection pin markings or anything on any of these pieces so far. Like, these are our poly caps for our wheels and everything. Set those aside. Some more hull and turret pieces. Looking good. Side skirts for the hull, I'm assuming. And sides of the hull with suspension and wheel attachments. Some kind of exhaust. Again, no flash, no pin marks, nothing. Very clean molded kit. Here's our second gun mount and associated pieces. Headlights and such. There's some big road wheels and the drive sprockets. Let's compare these to a set of wheels on an Abrams. Take a look at the size difference there. Abrams wheel, M61 wheel. Enormous. Can't imagine how much weight these wheels would actually have to support, you know, on the real thing. I don't know how much this is supposed to weigh. A fully laden M1A2 weighs in at about 72 tons. So if you want to think of that in scale terms, a 72-ton M1A2, if you were to shrink that down to 135 scale, this would weigh 2 tons. This model kit completed 2 tons. I think that's kind of a cool thing to think about. Some metal bars, I'm not sure what they're for yet, but I'm sure we'll figure it out as we go. And this looks like a bottom of a hull. Nice detail on the bottom of a hull where you're probably not going to see much of it, but they didn't skimp. Very cool. Multicolor figures. So what's interesting is you've got your headgear, kind of maroon beret color, that's cool. Uniform base color, I guess, and then kind of a flesh tone for all the parts that would have exposed skin, and then we can kind of paint over that. I'm not sure if I'm going to use these or if I'm actually going to use some 135 scale US tank crew member parts, but we'll see as we get there. And these decals, I don't know how good they are, I don't know how well they work, but some of these markings definitely can come into play with American marking schemes, so that's nice. Nice, well done clear parts for periscopes and lenses and stuff. Cool. Very large rubbery tracks. Not sure. These feel like I'm going to give them a good soapy wash and have to prime them real well. They don't feel like the kind of tracks that would take paint very well. But we've got 2 of them. Looks like assorted hull pieces here. Maybe some turret pieces too. Not quite sure, but crisp lines and everything. Rope, I'm assuming for tow cables and stuff. And I'm wondering if this is also like some color plastic molding for a gray kind of gunmetal type color for these parts. I mean, there's some weapons and everything on here. And then photo etch, which typically would probably go to a turret basket, things like that. Instructions. I don't speak that, unfortunately. I'm wondering if they're going to be... Oh, that's gorgeous. Look at that. Really nice full color pictures right up front to kind of show you what it can look like when it's all done. You know, if you go by the actual instructions. I love color guides where they actually give you colors that you're supposed to use, how it's supposed to look. So you can kind of figure it out on your own if you don't want to use the paint brands that they suggest. But there we go, full color paint callouts for the troops and everything. That's nice. Parts diagrams, let's see. More full color descriptions with details on the back. More figure stuff. Travel lock for the guns. And then looking at the instructions, they do look very detailed. Nice paper, not flimsy paper. Not quite glossy, but lots of pieces. Now it's all in Japanese, but the actual part numbers look like it's pretty detailed. The pictures look pretty detailed. You know, as we go through it, we'll figure out how accurate it is. The build looks complicated, but not any more complicated than, you know, any other kind of high quality tank kits. Instructions on photo etch. If you didn't know how to do photo etch, that might be a problem, but cool. And here's pictures of what the inside of the tank that doesn't actually exist looks like. That's cool. Just I like the background stuff. I like when they take the time to do that. There we go. I'm excited to get to this kit. Now I'm a little weird. When I build armor, I know every tank kit I've ever seen always starts with the hull. I don't know why. I like to get that business end done first. I always like to start with the turret. So I'm going to start with the turret, which means I'm jumping to step 17 on here, but that's where I'm going to go. So let me kind of get the required parts, the sprues out, get everything else sort of put away, get some supplies gathered, and we'll get rocking and rolling on. Looking over the instructions, to complete the turret, we are going to need our clear parts on sprue K. We're going to need the top of the turret on E. We are going to need some of the lower turret and the detail pieces on F. We're going to need both L's for the guns. We're going to need some of the pieces on J. We are going to need some of the pieces on H. And 2 of the rubber parts on N, which I cut out so we can put the rest of the tracks away. But this should give us everything else that we need to fully assemble the turret and get it going. Well, looks like I forgot to press record again as I was fitting the cannons in and everything. Oops. But here they are. So we've got cannons in. Now I've noticed a little bit of a problem here. Take a look. When you move one, got a little bit of an unevenness, and they settle kind of uneven. So it looks like the first scratch building we're going to do is we're going to build a brace between these 2 cannons so that they always sit even. Because while on the real thing, that might not be a problem, depending on kind of how everything is stabilized on the inside. We don't want our tank ever positioned like this. That's just kind of ridiculous. So I'm going to get out some plain old plastic and figure out exactly how and where. I'm going to build a couple of braces, probably just ahead of and to the rear of the fume extractors, that will hold these cannon kind of together and keep them aligned at all times. So to start with, max elevating both, because I know that when I put them both up at the max elevation, they're sitting even. So that's a great place to measure from, to make sure that when I start putting things on there, I'm getting it evened off and squared, and the cannons are level with each other. All right, check it out. A little bit of work. It's all done now. Everything is even, everything raises and lowers. Now, I know it looks a little bit sloppy right now, but when I clean it all up, I think it's gonna look pretty good with everything all finished. I'm gonna make it look like it was, part of the main model anyway. But the important part is we can raise and lower those cannons, and they are fixed as a unit. But just an in-progress fitting of the turret so far. Just want to make sure everything, is flush and lined up well, and it is. Everything's going well. Alright, so good progress coming along. Something else we're going to do to modify this to make it more like a modern US tank is we are going to swap the smoke launchers that come with this tank with the one from the Abrams. I don't want to give anything away with what we're doing with the Abrams, but I can promise you that with what we are actually doing with it, the smoke launchers that come with this tank that look something like this will actually go great with the project we're doing, And then we have the U.S. Army style smoke launchers that have been on the M-60A3 and the M1A1, and they are going to go right here. We're going to retrofit them on, and they're going to go pretty well right there. And small details, small details that bring it in and make it what we want it to be, a U.S. military, U.S. Army tank. You can see the molded detail there of some power cables, control cables coming from the actual tank to the what would be the smoke launchers there. So we're gonna fill this in with some putty, and then we're gonna recreate a little bit of that with this very thin plastic wire. We're gonna put it right in there, and that's gonna kind of complete very easy little scratch solution to fixing this up and making it look like it just always was there. Alright, and with that basic construction of the turret is done. We've stabilized the cannons so they are in unison at all times. Just because we had the holes to do it there, I ran a little rod through those little holes. I forgot to clip it. I'll clip the ends, and I'll probably just make, out of some larger rod, some bolts that look like they're holding it on. I think that would look cool. Just because, we had it, and it's one more visual thing to do. So there's that. But I also sanded and filled just one of the smoke grenade pods on each side, because the positioning of these hoist points would basically block that one. So, oh well. Just realism, I decided I was toying with the idea of whether or not I was going to replace the kit machine guns with actual US machine guns. I decided not to, based purely on the fact that I don't have any other machine guns to put on this thing right now. So that made the decision really easy. Besides, this does look a bit like an M240, M249, and yeah, that doesn't look anything like an M250 caliber, but whatever. You know what? This doesn't look like a real tank at all either. So, maybe they developed some new machine guns. We'll worry about that. Maybe we'll change it, maybe we won't. But I'm going to take a break from this. Next time, we'll get started on the hull and maybe some more conversion work on the turret here. A little bit more scratch building, adding a few details, some things that I think I might want to work on. But until then, I hope you'll join me for that, and I'll see you guys soon.